No, it's not my first visit. Yeah. I have been at the regional delegation before, but it's a visit now because of the 25th anniversary of the ICRC being in Kuwait. The International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC, started working in Kuwait just after the Gulf War, the first Gulf War, and we worked mainly with the missing dossier, the missing file. We looked after the people who went missing during the first Gulf War, and we made also a lot of detention visits. And it was very impressive when we had our seminary yesterday, where we had a lot of Kuwaiti people attending, that quite a lot of them told me that they had been visited by ICRC delegates when they were detained, and that they also had been liberated by ICRC afterwards and brought home to Kuwait. It was very touching also to hear these people's speech. It was the first policy dialogue that we had this year, and it was an exchange on topics of operations of the ICRC worldwide, but also on policy issues in view of the adherence of the state of Kuwait to the Security Council for the years 2018-19. And it was very important to have this exchange and look where our common grounds lie and where eventually we could work on humanitarian topics together. Our regional delegation here in Kuwait covers the whole GCC countries. So we have dialogue also with the other GCC countries, but we wanted to go in depth now today with this partnership meeting with the Kuwaiti state and the Kuwaiti Red Cross Society. We discussed on our operations. We have our biggest operation worldwide in Syria, where we do a lot of water and sewage. We procure fresh drinking water to almost 12 million Syrians, and we work also in food and health care. We have a very big operation also in Yemen. Yemen, you know it very well, is in a very difficult situation with a big cholera outbreak because there is a lot of bad water. Yemen is dependent on imports and can no more now import fuel, so it has bad water and a lot of destroyed health facilities. So we have to count with about 800,000 cholera sick people in Yemen. We have a big operation also in Iraq, where we work with the internally displaced people. We have millions of internally displaced people after the fighting in Nineveh and Anbar province. But also, of course, we have big operations in Africa, like South Sudan, Central African Republic, or also Afghanistan. And on all this context, we had an exchange with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Red Crescent Society. As I said, we are working throughout Yemen as well, in Taiz, in Hodeida, in Aden, also in Sana'a and Sada. We are working in a lot of health facilities. We try to bring help and medicine, also chlorine, and for non-communicable diseases also insulin and other pharmaceutical products. We work there also with doctors and nurses, together also with the Yemeniti Red Crescent Society, and we hope that we can bring in relief items as quickly as possible, because it's extremely important that these people get help. What we need is free access, and this is it can be a big problem because there is an embargo in Yemen, and so we really ask to all parties to the conflict that they get free access for humanitarian help. This is really crucial. A lot of people missed people in Yemen. Yes, as in all conflicts. I mean, this is one of the big problems, that you have a lot of people missing, you have a lot of people detained, and we try in all situations where we work to get access to the prisons and also to look after the missed persons, because this is extremely important for the families, that they know where are their loved ones, because if they do not know if they are in a prison or if they are dead, this is extremely difficult for the families. I mean, that's what I just said before. What we are asking to all the parties to the conflict is that we get access. And sometimes it's really very difficult. We had shipments of medical products which were not, where it was not possible to get them inside, and so we are discussing with all the parties to the conflict that we get access, because it is extremely important for the people who are in direst need. Much easier now than it has been before. It's still very difficult. It depends in what region you are. Some regions of Syria are a little bit calmer. You have, for instance, around 300,000 people going back to Aleppo and trying to make their living in this very much destroyed city, building up and really trying to get their living back. But you have other parts of Syria, the northeast, around Raqqa, for instance, where the fighting is still going on, also around Idlib, and where people are in very difficult situations and where we have to bring very acute humanitarian help. We have to have contact with all parties of a conflict, because we work strictly neutral, we are totally independent, and we give our help impartial. This will say needs-based. We are a strictly humanitarian actor. We don't mingle into politics. What we want to do is to be there where people are in need and where need is really absolutely urgent. We want to be there, we want to have access to people. And to get access to people, we have to speak with everybody. Everybody has to know what we are doing. This is the only way how we can get access to the people we want to serve. And that's why we are speaking with the government of Syria, of course, and all the different non-state armed groups. And in Syria, as elsewhere too, you can imagine there are a lot of different non-state armed groups. So we have to try to get in contact with all of them so that they agree that we get where we have to get and where we have to bring help. We have 3 of our colleagues being hostage since almost 4 years now. And we have lost 7 colleagues this year in Afghanistan. I did not even speak of Afghanistan but Afghanistan is also a context where we are working and where the situation is very difficult. No, Afghanistan, I mean, we are working in Afghanistan since 40 years. We have worked in Afghanistan when it was under Russian occupation. We have worked there when the Mujahideen fought each other. We have worked there under the Taliban government. We have worked there now when the international forces were there, and we are working there now. But the situation is not getting better. We have almost 5,200 civilian casualties, people killed in Afghanistan just in the first 7 months of this year. So it's really bad. It's a huge number. It's a lot of violence also in the middle of Kabul. Perhaps you have heard from this bomb attack, the 31st of May of this year, where you had almost 40 people killed by one blast. So it's a very difficult situation still in Afghanistan. In all the provinces where there is still a lot of internally displaced people after the battle around Mosul, but also in Anbar province, in Nineveh province, yes, we are working there. We are working with the internally displaced people, bringing medical help, bringing food and non-food items, and also visiting a lot of detainees, visiting prisons in Iraq. Somalia is also one of these protracted conflicts. More and more we have to work very long in these conflict areas. In Somalia also it's 20 or 30 years that we are working there, because it's really a very difficult situation where we have the Al-Shabaab, we have a the government, and we have a lot of people being also at the edge of famine, because people are no more able to work their land, and so there is really a big danger of famine. We are working there mainly also with food, and also having 3 centers where we specifically look after malnourished children. We're looking that these little babies who do not get enough food, they get special food that they can survive. So Somalia is also a situation where we are since a very long time. What we are doing is humanitarian diplomacy, and our work is based on the international humanitarian law. I mean, this is the rules of and the law of war, because there are also rules in war, basic rules, and this is called the international humanitarian law, and this is the basis of our mandate. And we are doing also a lot of humanitarian diplomacy, because we speak with states but also with non-state actors to show them that they are responsible to respect this law. States and also their partners have the responsibility to respect and to make respect the international humanitarian law. Because if this law would be respected in situations of conflict and other situations of violence, then the civilian population would be much better off. We would have much less casualties of civilians, and also much less people who would have to flee and go away from their country. What we have had today with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is a policy and context dialogue. We exchanged on what we are doing, and also in which way we could interact also in view, as I said, also of the Security Council mandate of the government. We hope, of course, that the state of Kuwait will be a partner of the ICRC, and as a matter of fact, the state of Kuwait is also giving money to the ICRC. He is in our corporate support group, which is the group of our big donors, and we are very happy and also thankful. And we would like to continue this good partnership. You know, if you ask a humanitarian, the needs are so immense. We always need more money, because we always could do more and would like to do more, because we see how big the needs are, and we also have the capability to do more. So I'm not here to ask for money, but of course I would be very happy, and we would be very happy to be able to help to more people. We want to stay totally independent, so I don't need something here. But when we ask governments for money, it's for the people we serve.